We got here, I think Dr. Reyna is here, and Mr. Sergey Vasilyev is also here. Welcome, both of you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, so
yes, thank you very much.
We are most welcome, sir.
Problems with internet.
Yes. So it's your end. It is, I think, also afternoon, right? 2:30.
No. In Moscow we have just 1 hour afternoon.
Oh,
Time is just 2 hours with Pakistan.
Yes.
In Moscow.
Okay. Moscow. So, можно сказать добрый день?
Добрый день.
И добро пожаловать.
Спасибо.
So, please
Спасибо, очень приятно.
Спасибо. Please excuse my bad Russian, but I will. It was 40 years back.
But still, it's fantastic. It's fine.
Okay. No, спасибо. Я был там где-то 40 лет назад, после этого никогда не был. Но они добили русского языка, и до сих пор что-то осталось.
Soon you will arrive in Moscow. Why not? Yeah. You are welcome to Moscow, to Russia.
Еще.
Yes, we will like to come to Moscow again. I have not been to Moscow for after a long, for that much, for about 40 years. Must have changed.
You are welcome very much.
Thank you very much.
Old friends are to friends.
Yes. All old friends are there.
Yeah.
Okay. We will. We also have Mr. Ruslan Alayv, and we also have Mr. Shahid Hassan Sheikh. Welcome to both of you, sir. And Ambassador Kamal is also there.
Your video is not coming. Yeah, now it's coming.
Okay. I'm there, sir. I'm there.
Yeah.
So it's 3 o'clock,
Okay,
and
okay.
we are waiting for Mr. Vyacheslav Sinchurin from the Russian embassy. Mr. Anton, I saw him. I didn't know whether.
Yeah.
Business Russian.
Mr. Anton, Dr. भाई शुरू कर दीजिए.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Based in Lahore, the concept of shared economic recovery has been introduced to ensure the economic and financial stability by mobilizing the economic resources for mutual support in the key economic sectors. The economic cooperation and connectivity to promote industry, agriculture, energy, health, and human resources in order to achieve the objectives of the shared economic recovery initiative. The partner countries of this initiative are Pakistan, China, Iran, and Russia. And so we have a series of,
Hello? Nazumi.
we have a series of webinars, and we want to and the objective of this webinar to create and develop the economic cooperation between the partner countries. And Sir Mohsin Hasnain Raza Mirza is the president of Golden Ring Economic Forum, and now I would request to Sir Hasnain Raza Mirza to please hold the session. Sir, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Farad. I hope, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody can hear me? I hope so. Okay, thank you very much. for coming here and joining us in this session. There is a little problem, I think, in our internet connection, but we will try to resolve it, and I hope things will go normal. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhallazina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
I think the voice is not clear, and also the video is not coming.
Something, I think there is a net problem, internet problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
I can.
Okay.
I can hear you clearly, sir.
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. So, and very welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today I welcome all our friends from Russia and from Pakistan to this webinar. This is the third of its series with Russia. We already had 2 seminars. As Dr. Farada just said, the theme of this webinar is shared economic recovery, post-corona shared economic recovery. We decided to do this because there was an economic problem, and we thought that it is high time that all these regional countries must join together to come out of this whole thing. And we were expecting Mr. Abid Sherwani, who is the DG-UMT, but unfortunately he had gone through a heart surgery, and he said that if he can manage it, he will join us also. So if he joins, we will see. And I can see Ambassador Masood Khalid. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. Now, before I introduce the concept and the golden ring, quickly, let me introduce quickly and briefly our participants today, the speakers, the panelists. We were supposed to have Mr. Vyacheslav Senchurin. He is the deputy head of the mission of Russian embassy. We are still waiting for him. We have Ambassador Arif Kamal. He is with us. We have Doctor of Science, Dr. Reyna Sirenko. She is heading the Pakistan chair at the Institute of Oriental Studies, Academy of Sciences, Moscow, Russian Federation. Then we have Mr. Sergei Vasilyev, who is acting chairman of Russia-Pakistan Business Council, and he also belongs to the Russian Federation Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Then we have Mr. Anton Celinchenko. He is a director of Department of International Cooperation of Business Russia in Moscow, Russian Federation. And we also have Mr. Ruslan Alayev, who is the deputy head of the trade mission of Russian Federation in Pakistan. He is stationed at Karachi presently. And also we have last speaker, Dr. Ghulam Samad, who is a senior research fellow at the Central Asian Regional Economic Cooperation Institute, SIRAC, and also a professor at the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, Islamabad. So these are our, so we also have some other participants and who are with us, who will be joining us, and maybe at the end of the session, they will be asking questions. So now I will just introduce very briefly about GREF and the theme. The Golden Ring Economic Forum, GREF, which we are calling, it was formed in 2015 by a group of businessmen, industrialists, and some former ex-military officers and some diplomats and a few scholars. So the mission of GREF is to work towards the establishment of new strategic economic bloc consisting of Pakistan, China, Russia, Iran, and Turkey, the 5 countries. That's, if you see on the below map, these 5 countries, they form sort of a ring formation around the globe. And the golden, we call it because more than 30% of the total world's resources, they belong to this this block. So this way we call it Golden Ring Economic Forum. So we have been working on different policy issues. This is a policy think tank, it is policy research think tank for strategic economic cooperation between these countries. And our main, if you say main initiatives, which we, objectives, we want to bring closer these 5 countries. And we have also launched certain initiatives in the short time. One of them is the formation of Joint Media Association of Golden Ring countries. Other one is the Golden Ring Joint Barter Chamber and SPV for trade between these countries. Then an establishment of a Joint Advanced Studies and Research Institute at Islamabad, and the coordinated banking financial system, because unfortunately with most of our countries we do not have the banking system, proper banking system. So this is a problem here. So that's why we are working on that. Then we are talking of stable communication and transport routes, secure communication transport routes. We are working on that also. That is our initiative. Another initiative is establishment of regional energy grid, which means oil, gas, electricity, and all sort of energy resources. So we want to, this is also one of the, and then we also have an initiative to formation of a joint counter-terrorism council of all these 5 countries, because we are most hit country from the terrorism. So these are our basic general main, you can say, initiatives. We have we had several conferences and other seminars we have already conducted, and so far we have been doing. One of the major achievement was the conference of parliamentary speakers of 5 countries in 2017 at Islamabad, which is now revolving. The next one happened in Tehran, then the next was in Ankara, and the latest one was supposed to be, I think, in Moscow or and then to China, but because of COVID, this got delayed. So I hope by the end of this year, or maybe next year, the round will start again. Now, this specific topic which we are talking about, we are why we have selected, as we all know that what happened after Corona, COVID-19, every country has gone through an economic crisis, and but on the other hand, we have also noticed that you people all have noticed that the Western, the US and the like IMF, World Bank and all that, they also started playing, using this COVID-19 as a pretext to load the poor countries with more loans in the name of COVID. So that is something which will hurt the economies of poor countries more, because we have more burden of loans. So one of the reasons that why we were talking of shared economic recovery, that let's pool up our resources instead of taking loans from them. Let's come out of it by ourselves. So this is the main thing. And then we are working on, on the basis of the economic struggle which every country is doing. So we have to work together to come out of it. And one more thing which we are pushing is that while working on this, we have to work out some solution, out of the box solutions, to come out of dollar, euro, etc., these foreign currency. Let's work with our resources, within our currencies, or maybe find some common currencies. So I normally take it, say lightly, that if we see rupee starts from our, ruble starts from our, real of Iranian currency starts from our, RMB from China starts from our, so we have our common environment. But anyway, we have to find ways to come out of the hegemony of dollar or euro or foreign currency. Let's work on within, with our currencies. Now the aim of this webinar is that we will request our participant we want to listen that how we can come out of this thing and how we can join hands and how soon we can do it. So this is the main task for our panelists. So let's hear them. Before we start our panelists, I will is the doctor, oh sorry, is Abhisab, are you there? I think he could not make it. So then let me request our chairman, Lieutenant General Sikandar Afzal, to open the seminar and to start his a few words. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hasnan. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. I welcome you all to this third webinar in the series of what the Golden Ring Economic Forum is tabling as shared economic recovery. As you all are aware, as a consequence of COVID-19, the whole world was turned upside down. The enforced quarantine across the world literally brought all commerce and trade to a standstill. Factories and manufacturing plants were shut down. Goods in transit were stopped for shipment or quarantined at ports. Shops, businesses were shut, and life practically came to a standstill. This impacted immensely upon the economies of the countries across the globe. The weaker economies already under stress came under more stress and affected the lifestyle of the populace. Worst affected were the daily wage earners in low-income groups with no savings. Governments are now endeavoring to meet these challenges to already weak economies. To assist in Pakistan, the Golden Ring Economic Forum has started a series of webinars on the subject of shared economic recovery, involving economists, businessmen, government officials to come forward and discuss how countries could work together to regain the lost economic opportunity and overcome this crisis. In this third webinar of the series, we have again collected a variety of speakers who will dilate on the possibilities and the opportunities available to Pakistan and Russia to work together to the advantage of each other. As you are well aware, there are already a couple of high-value projects in the pipeline, and it is a question of time before these start to materialize on ground in Pakistan with the assistance of Russia. One understands that economic interaction is at present subject to a long list of sanctions at the behest of the United States, and these sanctions restrict the opportunities available. Yet Russia, being our regional neighbor, cannot be ignored by Pakistan. Pakistan offers Russia an access and opportunity to the warm waters of the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, and the world. I would like to thank today's speakers, especially our friends from Russia, and participants for taking out time to join us and hoping for a very fruitful question and answer session at the end. I would especially like to thank UMT for the assistance providing in organizing this event. I will leave here with a request to all the participants and members who are present that if you have a question which you would like to ask at the end of the talk of the participants, it will be more prudent to send the question as a message to Dr. Samad, thereby just indicating that you would like to ask a question. This will preempt any wastage of time at the end of the session. Dr. Samad can then in turn allow each the opportunity to ask his or her question. I thank you once again for being patient, and over to Dr. Samad.
Thank you so much, General Saab.
Dr. Samad, let me also welcome. We have General Samrev Salik with us. He is also doing PhD on Russian. Sir, thank you very much. Okay, please go ahead, Dr. Samad.
Thank you so much, Nen Saab, and good afternoon to everyone from Islamabad. I'm glad and thankful to the Golden Ring Economic Forum for having me for today's moderation and considering me as a panelist as well. Before I introduce my respected today's panelists, Here are a few housekeeping things. The first one is, I request all of you, please mute yourself and unmute only when you have asked. Secondly, the time allocated for each panelist is 10 minutes, and you will be bugged around 8 minutes. Then you have to finish in next 2 minutes. So the total allocated time is 10 minutes. And then there will be a questions and answer session right after the panelists when they finish their talk. And one more request, before you asking a question, it would be great to mention to whom you want to address your question. The structure of today's discourse would be, we do have a long list, 7 panelists for today's discourse. And then the time allocated is, maximum allocation is 10 minutes. So please wind up in 10 minutes. And then followed by the question and answer session. And for the closing remarks, again, I would request beg to stand up to close the session. Before I introduce the panelists a little bit in length, I will be briefly introduce our renowned panelists. I have a long, relevant list of their experts. My apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now.
Right, sir. Right. So I will be again brief. So that today, first, His Excellency Mr. Vaishlev, His Excellency Mr. Vaishlev, and I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrongly, is the Deputy Head of Mission at the Embassy. He had joined Russian Federation in 2000. And he has a degree in international relations. We are looking forward to him. Our next panelist for today is Ambassador Arif Kamal. Ambassador Arif Kamal is a very senior and seasoned diplomat of Pakistan Foreign Services. Ambassador Saab had served in USSR, Canada, and respected other countries. He lastly retired as the director of Institute of the Strategic Studies, Research and Analysis, National Defense University, Islamabad. And finally, he was awarded by His Royal Highness, King of Jordan, and by His Highness, Amir of Qatar. The third panelist for today is Dr. Reyna Sirenko. And Dr. Sirenko is a doctor in sciences. She started off her career in Pakistan mission in 1983-84. And Dr. Sirenko also started the University of Siaksgorsk. She has a vast amount of research on Pakistan and South Asia. Without further ado, she has a contribution in writing books in almost 130 academic papers. At present, Dr. Sirenko is heading the Pakistan section of Oriental Studies Institute of Academy of Sciences, Russian Federation. The fourth panelist for today is Mr. Sergei Vaishlev. Mr. Sergei Vaishlev is a PhD in international relations, and he specialized in the international economic relations. His career which started off with, again, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Russia in 2007. He had served as a consulate general in Japan and Mongolia. He served as a senior executive at the APAC from Russian side. And finally, Dr. Sergey at present is the acting chairman of Russian Pakistan Business Council. Very informative, and looking forward for his discussion as well. The next panelist for today is Mr. Anton Celinchenko. Mr. Anton is the Director of International Cooperation of all Russian organizations, called them Business Russia. His area of expertise is exposed development and business-to-business B2B cooperation with foreign countries. And finally, he's a member of Commission for Organization of Black Sea Economic Cooperation, District Competition Commission, and he is also associated with the Working Group on Congress. The next panelist for today is Mr. Ruslan Alaev. Mr. Alaev is an economist professor He started off his career with the Ministry of Economic Development of Russian Federation. He served the Ministry of Senior Advisor for Trade and Development. He also served 2 tenures in Pakistan, and this is his 2nd tenure in Pakistan. And finally, he is working as the Deputy Head of Trade Mission of Russian Federation to Pakistan. And I will be the last finalist for today's discourse. I graduated with a PhD in economics from Colorado State University, USA. I worked at the Planning Commission of Pakistan, and before joining the Carrick Institute, ADB, I was affiliated with the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics for almost 15 years. So with this brief introduction, Asnensab is our first panelist around, or he is not around?
Yes,
yet?
yes, Excellency Vachislav Centurion is here. Welcome to you, sir.
Okay.
Please.
Sir, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
So turn on your microphone. Sir,
Unmute yourself.
Sir, unmute your microphone, sir.
Just a second.
Okay. Good.
Is it okay now?
No, it isn't. Yes, no, it's okay.
Great. So first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to all the organizers of today's event. Special greetings to Dr. Shahid Hassan, our old friend, and to his team. Thank you all, gentlemen. And my greetings to all the participants. Great to see you here. Thank you for your time and attention. So I would like to speak a few words as an introduction, then give some humble ideas as far as beating the pandemic COVID-19 is concerned. And after that, I will share some ideas that might be further steps to revive global economy, the topic of our today's discussion. As for the coronavirus pandemic, it has no secret has become a major challenge for all our countries and many international organizations as well. COVID-19 is spreading, unfortunately, regardless of continents, climate, region's temperature, currency reserves, or possession of nuclear arms. It is just a reality. The overall situation with COVID-19 is hard to predict, of course, and it is very complicated. We've got serious numbers. The number of cases has increased by almost 2 million over the past 2 weeks and exceeded 28 million cases since the beginning of the pandemic. In Russia, the figures as of mid-September are the following: about 1,030,000 cases, 850,000 recovered from the illness, almost 18,000 people died. All of which should certainly compel us to understand how we should live in the future and how we should advance to ensure peaceful, safe and stable life. So from my point of view, the first thing the countries should do is to beat the pandemic and to exclude the threat to lives of people. So the pandemic has created very serious problems. The most important of which is saving people's lives, ensuring their security, and I would like to elaborate a bit about Russian internal measures to beat COVID-19. Russia continues to take measures to bring home our countrymen who want to return from foreign countries. On average, 5,000 people return to Russia every week, and the total number of returnees is now about 300,000. For now, we have resumed regular flights between Russia and the following countries that namely are Egypt, the Republic of Maldives, Switzerland, Tanzania, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and the United Kingdom. Just few weeks back, Russian government reported about the state registration of the first vaccine against the novel coronavirus. It was developed by the National Research Center of Epidemiology and Microbiology of Gamaleya of the Russian Healthcare Ministry. I would like to stress that it is one of the first registered vaccines in the world that has proven its effectiveness. It has already started taking part in the last phase of testing. As for future supplies of this vaccine, as per our government's agreements, Belarus will be the first country to receive our antivirus vaccine against COVID-19. And Russia is also working on supplies of its domestic vaccine to other countries as well, including Pakistan. Russia supports the measures of the World Health Organization and its leadership to combat the coronavirus. We support its coordinating role in the struggle against the pandemic. And we share its view that steps taken to end quarantines must be balanced against existing risks. This is necessary to prevent a second wave of the pandemic above all. I have to admit that unfortunately not all states treat the World Health Organization as a competent body. For example, Washington's decision to suspend funding of the WHO and attempts to shift the blame on it for everything happening in the United States and hold it responsible for the growing pandemic is just counterproductive, I would say. Such claims are being advanced with regard to China as well, that it is China to be blamed for the current pandemic. But we should keep in mind, gentlemen, that our Chinese friends have overcome the peak of epidemic in their country, and now they are getting their economy back on track, and they are using their experience they gained in fighting this scourge in China to the help of other countries. So whenever we hear the argument that China has to pay everyone for spreading this infection, it is just beyond the pale. So the second step after we beat this pandemic and ensure the health of people is to revive global economy. As you know, according to the International Monetary Fund estimates, the pandemic is costing the global economy nearly 400 billion a month only, and its cumulative global economic damage could be several $1 trillion only this year. So it's evident that we need to find an optimal balance between guaranteeing sanitary safety and cushioning the damage by the pandemic to the world economy and trade and simply links between the people. Therefore, it's necessary to work together to find formulas that would allow us to gradually resume international travel, trade, cultural, humanitarian, educational, youth, sport, and other exchanges between countries. As for Russia, it is doing its part of the job in this regard. From the very start of the pandemic, early 2020, Russia has been providing assistance to the most affected countries. That is Italy, USA in some part, as well as some European countries, as well as Belarus, Uzbekistan, and a number of other states neighboring Russia. Most recent development is an emergency delivery of humanitarian aid to the Central African Republic, the Republic of Congo, and Zimbabwe. In September, Russia supplied mobile microbiology laboratories, personal protective equipment, diagnostic kits, medical devices, and disinfectants, all free of charge. We also proceed from the need to immediately lift all unlawful unilateral sanctions. Sorry?
No, it's okay, please.
Please go ahead.
Oh, yes, okay. So we also proceed from the need to immediately lift all unlawful unilateral sanctions. One example here, on October 15th, the G20 and the Paris Club approved the initiative on the temporary suspension of debt service payments to all official bilateral creditors as a measure to support low-income countries. The poorest countries that requested this benefit are supposed to use money thus saved on the social sphere and healthcare. And being a member of International Monetary Fund, Russia has also welcomed its approval of immediate debt relief for 25 countries. It made statement saying that this provides grants to our poorest and most vulnerable members to cover their debt obligations. These funds come from donor resources. And last but not least, the UN Secretary General has recently supported the initiative of Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan on writing off the debts of poor and developing nations amid the difficult international situations due to the pandemic. Russia itself believes that the implementation of this initiative put forward by the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have a positive impact on the social economical situation of the developing countries. And where the rapid spread of COVID-19 coronavirus infection is aggravating their traditional economic problems. So to sum up, the current situation is not only a test for states, but it is also for integration and other associations that include such states. I think that after we overcome this global threat by using joint efforts and work out antidote in case such developments recur, we will have to rethink a lot of things concerning the operation of multilateral organizations. I believe that it is now critically important not to point fingers at anyone, but to come to grips with the fact that this is our common misfortune. We can deal it only if we join hands, rather than try to antagonize a particular country. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, His Excellency, and you nicely walk us through the Russian experiences, especially about the vaccine development and then the Russian contribution in the economic recovery. And of course, the highlight that you gave us about the COVID-related economic challenges. And the last point is really appreciated, that the integration is the key. So now I proceed to the next panelist for today. The next panelist is Ambassador Arif Kamal Saab. Sir, the floor is yours for 10 minutes. Arif Saab, are you there?
Yes. Do you hear me now, sir?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity that leads up to this platform. It revives pleasant memories of what Moscow means for us. and also enables us to brainstorm on the prospects of our regeneration in a broader geopolitical space. Forgive me if I go beyond the code of the epidemic that we are facing, are continue to face in the contemporary arena, because in my view, the shared economic recovery is a complicated task accumulated from the problems that have occurred, have roots in the previous epidemics as well. And I don't want to dwell on them at the outset, but for sure there is an impact of the global war on terror in Pakistan. This was one epidemic. The US sanctions against Iran, Islamophobia that is being faced by Turkey and others, and then of course containment of China is also on the very much one of the pandemics that we continue to face even today. So it's a very complex situation, and I think this platform should enable us to cover aspects beyond 19. I must say that this platform is refreshing me even up to the symphonies, Pasco Nights, Kalinka, that provide, and they still continue to provide, food for the soul. Also, that reminds me of the men of stature and the ideas that came with them at the tail end of the Soviet era. Men like Professor Gronkowski, I know Reyna would know them, and who was running between us and his desk to join us in co-managing the processes in Afghanistan. Again, men like Vice Minister Yuri Vorontsov. I just want to recall that as to what is the accumulated fund of shared endeavors from the past to this end, even today. Well, I only mention the dedications that people had for peace and progress in our common geographic space. Well, I don't take myself as a specialist on Russia, but we all are privy to what we call the missed opportunities that have fraught the environment. And these missed opportunities, as we know, were born and groomed in an era of Cold War. And since then, much waters have passed through the riverbeds of Volga and Indus. And of course, we know that the Cold War came to a decisive end a long time back. And yet we also feel that there are cold warriors proximate to the corridors of power here and there, acting in disregard to the climatic change that we all have witnessed. Therefore, it's critically important that we see what are the ingredients of the environment that has shaped since then, and not going into detail of what we can discuss elsewhere on a different platform. I think it's important and it's very vital for a better understanding to know of, to refresh ourselves with the new cartogram, the reconfiguration of power alignments and how the change impacts on peace and progress in a trans-regional neighborhood. Again, in the transforming environment, we are already witnessing a significant erosion in the unipolar order. We all know that, but we need to refresh it because we are no more hostage to a Cold War situation. And of course, this decline in a unipolar order is now coming to a close, and we are ending up with a non-polar or a multipolar order. Of course, in this transforming order, there is a resurgent Russia that we know of. And first of all, it's keen to secure and stabilize its near abroad and to regain the rightful role as a major power in the globe. Similarly, the Chinese existence is now synonymous with high productivity and growth, besides a massive drive for trans-regional connectivity. So in short, the old monopolies are on way out. The unipolar moment is now closer to an end. And of course, this brings into the fore a primary question for a man like me as to what is the US agenda in the transforming environment? And what is the Russian impulse for a greater engagement in the trans-regional setting? And I think we should now, and by now, agree that US is a receding power. And it's looking for proxies in various parts of the world, including the part of the world in which we exist. And therefore, there is a lot the receding power is expecting from the partnerships, if you don't want to use the word proxy, and from this region. This explains to me the Indo-US relations have attained a solid strategic dimension. And we cannot look at the regeneration of a larger geographic space without appreciating this pillar of the new environment. Again, I would say that this whole complicated scenario leads up to the policy of China's containment and a greater squeeze on Pakistan. And if it's so, any economic move towards economic regeneration will have to take that into consideration. And I think we need to also appreciate that the India's lurch towards US is evident, even though it is making efforts to keep Moscow its comfort level. Again, I think the research in Russia will have stronger regional stakes, especially in its near about, and an inclination to contribute towards building cooperation with Pakistan. In this, without going into any wasteful, diversion, I think Moscow is actually aware, and I must confess, of the pendulum swing in Delhi. It would like to give more space to relations with Pakistan while keeping India engaged. The policymakers in Moscow, however, remain indecisive for sure and vulnerable to internal debates on how and how much they can pursue the India factor. Now, the interface with Pakistan, just to refresh ourselves that in the colonial legacy and later amid Cold War era, we knew of a Russian bear from the cold, desperately trying to reach the warm waters in the south. It is amazing as to how the perceptions have changed, and we all are set to witness the evolution of a new architecture around us. Today, the beer from the cold might be a stabilizing factor. And
Two more minutes.
Yes, sir. The beer from the cold might be viewed as a stabilizing factor and therefore very much welcome on the shores of the Arabian Sea, Gwadar included. In the corridors of power in Rawalpindi and Islamabad, a greater Russian engagement on our east and on our west ought to be viewed as a dissuasive factor vis-a-vis aggressive overtones in the state policies. It should keep India at bay and Iran at ease. This is it's not a message I'm conveying. It's just my assessment as an academia man. The Russian factor is thus expected to lead to sustainable undertakings in the evolving relationships. From the Russian perspective, we can make a very intelligent appreciation that proximity to Russia's near abroad and therefore is a critical link in the policy formulation chain. From Pakistani perspective, engagement with Russia relates to shrugging off the baggage of history and antagonistic relationships, diversifying its relationship and decreasing dependence on the US and the West. Well, I think we already witnessed that Afghanistan was a point of convergence in many ways. And of course, and I like to say that in a nutshell, the Russian desire to maintain traditional relations with India in spite of its lurch toward the US is well understood. However, an onward movement in Pakistan-Russia relations will have to exclude all notions about a regional hegemony. Again, Moscow's relations with Delhi as well as Tehran ought to be a vehicle for nudging aggressive overtones in our neighborhood. In the end, one likes to refresh one theme taken by Moscow-based analysts in recent years. And I think I'm talking of Andrew Karbeko. Pakistan is rightly seen, in my view, by him as a zipper in the trans-regional connectivity. Similarly, the country is also perceived as a vehicle of acceleration towards multipolarity if we uphold far-sightedness. At the end, I pose questions, and I think this would be good to know from the friends who have better informed. I think if Pakistan is the zipper, and this is something which we hear from Moscow in terms of broader connectivity, which is a shared value with China and with Russia, what impedes the collaboration in the region, even though fears of beer have receded, the fears of beer reaching the warm waters have receded significantly. So I think we need to appreciate, understand,
Sir, please wind up, sir.
Okay, sir, I'm winding up. And we need to really recount what I talked about, the impact of the global war on terror, US of China. So what can the greater regional connectivity generate sufficient economic growth? And what would be the platform for that if we can move forward and overcome the losses that we have been facing over the decades? Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Saab. I do believe that you walk us very thoroughly through the complexities associated with the shared prosperity, and at the same time, you also walk us very commendably the opportunities that are associated with the shared prosperity. And I do believe at the end, the role of Russia that you highlighted in this joint prosperity is commendable. So with this, now I invite my third panelist for today, Dr. Reyna. So the floor is yours for 10 minutes. Dr. Reyna, the floor.
Thank you. So, but I cannot
Yes, we can hear you.
No. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. President, and dear colleagues and friends, for inviting me to participate in this relevant conference webinar on our shared economic recovery. And I should say that perhaps nowadays it is very, very, you see, acute for our countries to enhance bilateral relations. Of course, we understand that your initiative, Pakistani initiative on arranging this economic bloc of Golden Ring is very, you see, promising and very interesting. But just now it seems to me that we should concentrate on bilateral relations and enhancing it because of the atmosphere in the world, post-COVID atmosphere in the world and situation in the region does not allow us just now, you see, to follow the Golden Ring philosophy, though in future it will be of great importance. Russia and Pakistan enhance during practically 1 year. Last year, for example, if we take the conference in Strategic Vision Institute, where His Excellency Arif Kamal also participated, and there was discussion on the issues of bilateral relations and Russia's role in South Asia. And the participants of this conference came to the conclusion, especially our Ambassador Detov and Foreign Secretary Tikhmina Janjua, that we should be more active, intensify our bilateral relations. And then there was a seminar. This Strategic Vision Institute conference was held in Islamabad in March, yes. And then in April, if I'm not mistaken, you also had a proceedings of joint seminar, Golden Ring Economic Bloc for Regional Peace and National Economic Security. Russia's side supports this initiative. In this context, Russia appreciates your initiative to establish a strategic economic unit, the so-called Golden Ring Economic Bloc, consisting besides Russia of Pakistan, Iran, and China. Its think tank Center for the Strategic Economic Policy, GREF, founding member and board Ghana Shahid Hassan came to Moscow and visited our Institute of Russian Academy of Sciences. We had a very fruitful discussion on under the head of our Chief Professor Belokrinitsky, and we settled that we will arrange a roundtable discussion together with you, President, in March this year. But due to the COVID situation and pandemic, it was delayed for an appropriate time. But thanks to this webinar, we had a lucky chance just to gather all together and to discuss all issues we are interested together. I should say that actually GREF concept initiated by the Pakistani side is strategically promising and beneficial for all the stakeholders. And it once again proves the geostrategic importance of Pakistan for the regional connectivity and Eurasian integration in the rapidly changing global and regional environment. But to be honest, and I should say, in reality, this project right now looks to be rather complicated for practical implementation due to various reasons aggravated by the recent pandemic with the global economic crisis. It includes, for instance, the rising US-China tensions in the contrast to the establishment of US-India closer relations, and the ongoing Iran-Saudi Arabia confrontation with a negative impact on Pakistan bilateral relations with all states by adding greater strategic imbalance in the regional environment, not to say about continuous Pakistan-India tense standoff over Kashmir or current China-India standoff over their border dispute, as well as a much delayed peace process in the neighboring Afghanistan, though with a sign of progress now in it, thanks also to the great efforts of Pakistan. The emergence of GREF initiative as a national geostrategic and economic concept of self-identification illustrates Islamabad's intentions to turn its foreign policy in the relevant vector of regional integration by framing a new variation of regional economic bloc, which is not in contradiction but in supplement to the existing national Russia and China inclusive economic projects of Eurasia integration, so as to harmonize all of them. The increasing interstate interest in the world, including Russia, to the dynamically developing but least integrated Central Eurasian region is determined by the process of transport and energy connectivity between the states located along the currently revived ancient Great Silk Road. The Chinese mega initiative BRICS-IPEC was also supported by Moscow due to its convergence with the Russian project of Greater Eurasian Partnership through Eurasia Economic Union. It provides an opportunity to create a broader partnership in Eurasia, and to attain more extensive continental regionalization. That's why Russia views positively the option of CPEC further expansion by means of inclusion in it, besides Afghanistan, neighboring to China and Pakistan, the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is an important factor in stabilizing the situation in the Central and South Asia. The formation of a strategic partnership of these states within the framework of CPEC can contribute not only to their socio-economic growth, but to the stability in the region as well. CPEC expansion and implementation are in the interests of Moscow primarily as an option to increase regional connectivity in the Greater Eurasia. According to Pakistan expert, Russia values Pakistan's geographical location and desires to assist Pakistan in the peaceful integration into the multipolar Eurasian framework being constructed by China-Russia strategic cooperation. Within this framework, the multimodal CPEC currently provides the best opportunity to link Eurasia with South Asia. Besides, it gives Moscow an opportunity to enter the new Asian gas supply market, viewed by the Russian energy superpower as an alternative to the European gas flow. With putting into operation all CPEC industrial and other projects, there will be a significant increase in the energy consumption, in which Pakistan has constantly experienced a big deficit. And your Prime Minister Imran Khan last week once again said about the energy difficulties, especially with gas supply to Pakistan.
You have 2 more minutes.
Okay, the intensification of bilateral cooperation between Moscow and Islamabad in trade, economic, military, technical, and other fields was promoted by the Russian-Pakistan agreement on the settlement of mutual financial claims and the commitments on operations of the former Soviet Union with Pakistan. It was also signed in December last year. So we can see that the evolution of Pakistan bilateral relations in a speedy way goes to its best way. And but I think that when we signed the MOU on gas pipeline, north-south pipeline, and still 5 years has passed, and the results we will see only, they say, the end of this September. And this commercial agreement, it seems to me, will be the first step for our shared economic recovery. I should say that I spent more than 1 year in Pakistan during 1983-84, as it was mentioned, at Steel Mill, Pakistan. I worked there, and it was a time when we were on different borders due to Afghanistan, but still economic, you see, pragmatism prevailed in our relations. And I think that nowadays we also should concentrate on economic issues, economic cooperation, but also we should think about security in the region, and we see the situation is changing in Afghanistan for the better, and the intensification of interaction between the Russian Federation and Pakistan, both on bilateral and in the future, and to some extent nowadays multilateral levels, in the vector of enhancing economic and defense cooperation, may be considered as part of the general regionalization trend in the integration process on the vast area of
Please wind
Eurasia,
up.
where the ongoing bilateral Russian-Pakistan project, while facilitating practical implementation of Russia-Japan initiative, in the long term will have the option to transform into emergent joint economic and security infrastructure of the greater Eurasian, aimed at promotion peace, stable social economic development for the all belonging to each country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for highlighting the bilateral relation and its importance in the approach that you suggested, the movement from the bilateral to the multilateral slowly and gradually. And then the third suggestion that you gave about the regional connectivity, and more specifically the importance of the Eurasian economic integration in this shared prosperity. With these remarks, let me invite my next panelist, Dr. Reyna. So the floor is yours, sir, for 10 minutes. Dr. Reyna, are you there?
Yes.
No, it is Dr. Sergey, I think now. It is Sergey Vasilev.
Yes.
Snail sir, can you hear me?
This.
No.
It is Mr. Sergey Vasilev, please. Mr. Sergey Vasilev.
I think he's not listening us.
My apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have to bring in Dr. Sergey Vasilev, please.
Okay, right, sir. So the next panelist is
okay.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Can you listen? Do you hear me?
Hello. Can you listen? Do you hear me?
I have some trouble with
my notebook. Yeah, thank you very much for your invitation.
Thank you very much. I will use my smartphone.
I will use my smartphone.
Your voice is choppy, sir. Please.
He's using two devices.
Hello?
Sorry.
Your voice is choppy, it's not clear.
Hello. Everything is okay, I hope. Good friends in Pakistan. Very proud of having good friends in Lahore who have very good ideas looking into future of Pakistan-Russia relations and also Asia and maybe world as a whole. For me, frankly speaking, after about 30 years at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and about 6 years at the Chamber for Commerce and Industry and Mr. Primakov, it was a good school, I hope. But for me, it's very interesting. Do you hear me not?
Mr. Sergey, the problem appears to be that the loudspeaker is very high, and because of that, your sound, when it comes out with an echo, and that echo is heard by everybody. So if you can reduce the volume of your device, we would be able to hear you much better.
Beg your pardon. What about now? Is it okay?
It is perfect now.
Thanks. So for me, frankly speaking, Pakistan is a kind of challenge because I was working for many years for Russia or Soviet Union relations with Eastern Asian countries. But thanks to former chairman of Russian State Duma, Mr. Seleznyov, who has passed away, we were able to get together with our Pakistani friends, create a Russian-Pakistani business partners in Pakistan, Pakistan-Russia Business Council under your Federation of Chambers for Commerce and Industry. So we have good partners and we are looking into future, not only gas and oil, it's very important, but for this big strategic issues, we have an intergovernmental commission, and it's working rather actively from my side. And I was very happy to take part in several events, general meetings of the Intergovernmental Commission here in Moscow and in Islamabad. The last of them was just last December. For me, some issues. The first one, when I speak about this great idea of GREF, first of all, I would like to ask my Pakistani friends to decide, is Turkey included or not? Because even in the invitation to take part in this seminar, Turkey was omitted. And I follow this initiative of GREF, thanks to Dr. Shahid, for already, I suppose, 5 or maybe even 6 years. And sometimes Turkey is included, sometimes it's out. So please, my good friends in Lahore, decide it's your initiative, it's your child, and occasions. Of course, Turkey is a little bit specific country. It's a member of NATO. It's a good partner of Russia in many fields. Sometimes we have contradictions as well, as you do know, in political and maybe sometimes economic fields as well. and the most important challenge is Pakistan. Of course, Iran is also not so easy to deal with because of the sanctions regimes. And many Russian companies are a little bit cautious not to take very active part in relations with Iran. It's not a secret, and just Moscow Chamber for Commerce and Industry dedicated completely to Russian-Iranian economic relations. But speaking about Pakistan, I'm very glad that we have our Institute for Oriental Studies, and I meet with Reyna and her colleagues. But frankly speaking, we have one very big issue. We don't have people who know much about Pakistani economy among Russian scholars and about Russian-Pakistani relations. I had a good friend of mine, of everybody, I suppose, Sergei Kamenev. He has passed away, and now in economic field we don't have such great experts, and it's very important. Now I would like, and one more point also about expertise. Some of my friends, even from very big Russian companies, are asking me about Russian experts in legal issues, economic issues in Pakistan. And frankly speaking, I couldn't help them. I couldn't find Russian experts who know well about Pakistani economic trade law. And of course, when we are looking now into our bright future, mutual investments, not only trade, but deeper economic cooperation, I suppose such experts will be of experts, and we have many Pakistanis living here. We have good relations with Pakistani people, but usually they are engaged in trade in fruits, textile, surgical instruments, but not a real big scale or middle scale economic cooperation in technical fields. So I suppose one of the key issues is to have such experts. Without it, level of mutual economic investments. But maybe you don't know, according to the latest figures, the level of mutual investment was 0, at least last year. We have growing trade. We have good perspectives after solving this Russian-Pakistani. Pakistan is a proud country. It has paid about $100 million, 93, if I'm not mistaken. And now the way
Sergio, are you there?
Is it okay? And one more point, speaking about GREF initiative, I spent about 6 years lower level, high level for Asia-Pacific economic cooperation. About 20 countries, exactly 21 economy, so-called, including Taiwan and Hong Kong. Of course, China, United States, Australia, and many others. And create a pool of, informal pool of experts for them to meet among themselves and to decide the future of this organization. I suppose these meetings of experts of the nearest future, this COVID pandemic will be finished, should meet among themselves and discuss the possibilities for deeper economic and maybe political cooperation as well. And one more point, I suppose we have to praise our embassies, Pakistani embassy here in Moscow and Russian embassy in Pakistan, and our trade offices who are really very active. But one more point, I suppose it very necessary to have inter-regional cooperation as well. We have already started it, but it's still symbolic. I suppose maybe in Russia, we could decide several regions who will be playing the leader role in Russian-Pakistani relations. About COVID, for me, I like your idea of not recovery, but prosperity, frankly speaking. My wife is, by the way, a specialist in my conference who are putting much of efforts of the equipment, dresses and so on, for specialists and for surgery and common people. So maybe in this field we also could before experts and corporations. According to my knowledge, Pakistan is now studying the possibility of importing from Russia this vaccine for COVID-19. And one more point, agriculture. My mother was an engineer in agriculture, and for me, it seems to me that we have very much to do, not only in energy, steel and mineral resources, but in food security. Because Pakistan has a lot of attention to production of basic food and to exports of it. And I suppose we could also have deeper cooperation in this field, not only importing some grain from Russia or some fruits and vegetables from Pakistan, but deeper and closer cooperation. For me, I see Russian-Pakistani cooperation is full of opportunities, and I hope together with great experts and very initiative people from Pakistan, we can move on in nearest future. I suppose it's also a challenge, but it's also a chance. And for example, many Russian corporations and companies have switched their way of doing business. So much more internet, much more distant, and so they can on their places for their stuff. And for me, I suppose that the sooner we will have this deeper knowledge about each other, I mean, first of all, Pakistan and Russia, because we have experts in Russia here at least on Iran, China, of course, on Turkey, but very important that Reyna Sirenko and her people and some educational institute for international relations should pay more attention to higher level education of Russian specialists on Russian, Pakistani relations.
Please wind up.
I have finished.
Okay, thank you so much. It was a great timing. I really appreciate the pertinent points, the observation that you brought. So the interest of time, one of your points that you highlighted, that is the depth of the technical expert, is very relevant. And unfortunately, in whole secretariat of Pakistan, we don't have any macroeconomist. So that is again something like, we can really feel at the secretariat in Pakistan for some of the decisions We go to State Bank, and sometimes we even outsource our decision as well. I totally buy your argument, and I agree with you. Dearth of the technical expert is one of the biggest issues in this country. So now I move on to the next panelist for today, Mr. Anton. So the floor is yours, sir, for 10 minutes.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for inviting Business Russia to participate in this event. Special thanks for Mr. Shahid Hassan, our mutual friend for several years already. So I will give just some remarks regarding the point, the topic of our webinar. And first of all, actually, to our shame, we should say that this initiative, GREF, as you call it, Golden Green Economic Forum, it actually came out of the blue for us when we invited, we got the invitation from you, because Business Russia is one of the most powerful business associations in Russia, and we participate in some business council of international organizations such as Black Sea Economic Organization, or Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, and others like BRICS and so on. But we didn't hear before about GREF, and it's a very big honor for us to participate in such event. And if it is possible, we would like to join this initiative, this think tank activity on the permanent basis. Moving on, we should say that we're talking about sharing economic recovery, and as you may know, Russia Federation has less impact on coronavirus and COVID comparatively to the Western countries, to the USA. So because of the urgent and rather effective measures which were held by Russian government with the active participation of our business community, our business associations, including Business Russia. So we can send you a paper about assembling short information about the most effective policies which has been implemented in Russian economy, as the Russian business didn't suffer very much from the pandemic. We actually, a couple of months ago, we did a small inquiry among our members of Business Russia, just asking the simple question: what company suffered or not from the pandemic? And less than 1% of our company didn't have any impact on this matter, on the COVID, but mostly, of course, they were forced to reduce their revenue, to reduce their staff, and so on. So this is a very big challenge for business community in Russia, and as well as the other countries, including those countries who are part of the Golden Ring Economic Forum. We considered your concept paper very with the very big attention, and there are some points that are, you know, very not only interesting for us, but we think that these themes should be developed and put into life. I mean, for example, talking about agriculture sector that already mentioned by Sergei Vasilyev. Also, as you may know, agriculture sector is the Russian Federation is #1 for exporting agricultural goods all over the world. So first of all, we can say that there are some measures, some policies regarding agricultural sector in Russian Federation that led to this #1 position. And of course, we can, as Business Russia, also, if you would like, send you some information concerning how we did that, how Russian Federation became the #1 export agricultural country, and maybe just help Pakistan maybe to increase the food security in your country and make some effective decisions in your country. Also, the energy and I will say energy and the transport, speaking both of them, this is a very important issue that we should, I guess, speak among the other countries. I mean, Iran and Turkey and China, because this what you wrote about shared regional energy grid. This is a very important initiative, but also we should develop transport corridors, because as you may know, there is a transport corridor right now implementing in Russian Federation together with the Azerbaijan and Iran. It is called International Transport Corridor North-South, and I guess that the Pakistan should be in this initiative. Also, we could launch some negotiations with our Ministry of Transport regarding the participation of Pakistan in this initiative. Considering financial system and financial transactions, one of the priorities of the Russian Federation governmental policy is gradually increasing the number of transitions taken in national currencies. We already do it with China, so we're not using we less using US dollars in bilateral trade, so we should do this. We also have negotiations with Iran, as far as I remember, because as Iran is under international sanctions. They are removed from SWIFT, from this bank international system, and we can I guess this issue we can just spread in other countries with Turkey and with Pakistan also. So this is the main topics I would like to speak about, because this initiative of course demands a more a more a deep and detailed view on separate directions, and we can, as I said before, send to the organizers some papers considering these directions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Nicely compile your points, and especially the highlighting the business Russian activities, and then how you can integrate the business Russian activities with the GREF activities. Again, commendable. And your second point was again very pertinent, that how the Russian government or the business council can support Pakistan agriculture sector in cooperation in the energy sector. So very pertinent points. Now with these, I request our next panelist for today, Mr. Ruslan Aliyev. Sir, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Yes, if you hear me, just let me thank for the invitation to participate in this event and congratulate Golden Ring Economic Forum with the first event which they are organizing on this platform with Russian Federation. As previous speakers told, many aspects and issues in political topics, let me focus on a economic base indicators. And firstly, as I am in Pakistan and local school are closed and my children here is at home, I prepared a small board, if it will be visible. It is with a few only letters. The first one is V letter, as it's like if we are speaking about the recovery of economy today, we should mark what kind of recovery can be focused the economies of Russia and Pakistan. The first one is V line. Is it visible? Let me take this line. It is V. V recovery, yeah, as economists telling, this is the rapid recovery, which called after the going down, it will again goes up. And for example, they are expecting that China economy is already starting successfully restoring after these pandemic issues. The second one is U, which means that after the fall, which is followed by stagnation, then we are expecting some growth. And right now, Russian economists are telling that we are on a U-based economy, and meantime, the stagnation and the decrease is 8% of GDP. Yes, of course, you were discussing many issues and some alternative indicators for economic activity. But in my speech, I should focus that GDP growth is still remains the main goal of economic policy and sufficient marker for determining success. Then there is a L base that after stagnation is going down, it will be increasing slowly and gradually. And the last one is W, that the pandemic crisis is not finished yet. It seemed like some countries already faced the second phase of pandemic situation. And while the figures we are looking and the reports which economists giving for Pakistan, last 2 months sales of cement, cars and other products has been increased in Pakistan. Same situation in the Russian Federation. Let's see how it will go on. Of course, this is the difficult situation for both countries. And again, we are returning to the main goal of today's meeting, how we should supplement each other. Today, Mr. Vasilyev have mentioned different topics of cooperation which is coming in the nearest future. Unfortunately, due to crop situation in many countries, due to pandemic situation. The crop was not received in time, and it was the seeds was not grown in time. That's why it's a time of agriculture economy, because only food items is in great demand. All other items like electronics and other things are not right now usable by population of both countries. As far as other issues which were today marked, like investment cooperation and some other political issues and platforms, we should not focus right now on investment. Investment projects are going between our countries, of course, as Mrs. Irina marked the finalization and signing of agreement on the mutual debts will opening a new way and era in cooperation between our countries. Let's see. The main point, of course, today is the construction of the pipelines, for which documents were signed before. Let's see. As far as other things concerned, let's mark also the measures which were done by Russian government and Pakistani government to support businesses, small and big, first of all. As Mr. Anton Celinchenko told, that Business Russia was supporting small and medium enterprises in Russian Federation, and they have received some advantages like the extension of tax payment terms, deferred loan payments, and lease payments. I haven't heard that such measures was taken in Pakistan, which helps local small and businesses to survive. Or except that there is different measures which can be done for businesses right now. And if we are speaking about the recovery should start especially from small and medium enterprises, because they producing for Pakistan the great part of its product GDP. In conclusion, once again, as my speech is very short, I just want to mention that we should not mix political and economic issues in time of this COVID pandemic. We should more focus on the needs of population and cover that needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really concluded, and I agree the suggestion, especially you started off with the economic indicator, and as economist, you develop a stage for myself. I'm the next panelist, and I agree the different recovery perspective in form of U, V, L, and W that does persist. So that was again very commendable, and at the end, the suggestion that you brought for this discourse is again very commendable. So I stop here, and now I go to my presentation, and I'm the last presenter for today, and then we will have the question and answer session right after this. So Nensab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There is just one thing I would like to answer. Mr. Sergei Vasilev just asked a question. I quickly want to respond regarding Turkey. Yes, Mr. Sergei Vasilev, Turkey is there on board, and in future we are also planning to take on board the Central Asian countries. So Turkey is very much there, but in this webinar there was certain problem, they were not available, so they are not in this webinar. Otherwise, Turkey is a member of the GREF. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So my discussion would be moving around 4 points. The first one is the export structure and the market diversification, regional connectivity. Third would be the shift in priorities. And the fourth would be adapting ourselves to the new normal. So let me jump into the first point, regional connectivity. And most of the participants highlighted the importance of the regional connectivity. And unfortunately, if we look ourselves in the context of the CAREC region, including 13 countries, we are the second least connected country in the CAREC region. We are only above Afghanistan. So this is one thing that is seriously concerned when we talk about the trade progression, especially when we connect ourselves to the Central Asian economies, and if we connect ourselves to the Russian economies, already discussed by one of our colleagues, that how we can link ourselves to the Russian economies. So regional connectivity is the things that need to be taken in the priorities. We ADB recently finalized one of the reports. That report is among the CAREC countries, and they call them like the businesses crisis points, call them BCPs. And again, unfortunately, where they calculate the border crossing point for railway, other transport, is very high. The cost is high, the time is high. So the cost of overall, businesses goes up in Pakistan when we compare ourselves to the rest of the Central Asian in other Caucasian countries. So even though if we connect ourselves to the Eurasian economies as well, so regional integration is the crux, and unfortunately we are not delivering there. The second point is about the export structure. And unfortunately, for the sense, I would say last 60, 70 years, our export structure is still stagnant. The diversification in our export is very limited. And if this is the situation, then the shared prosperity, while connecting ourselves to this region, will remain limited. So we have to diversify the structure, and at the same time, we have to diversify the countries. If you look into the historical trend in Pakistan, unfortunately, we are limited to UAE, we are limited to UK, we are limited to USA in exports and imports as well. So this whole trend for the last many decades is stagnant. So we have to diversify ourselves to the untapped economies. And I would suggest the Russia is again with a huge potential there. Central Asia is there. And of course, the mandate of the GREF is not the African economy, but still as a country suggestion, we have to diversify ourselves. It is unfortunate for ourselves. If we look into the Pakistan and Russian debt, it's only $800 million in 2018. Very limited, very minimal. If we compare the Russian and the Indian trade, that is more than $10 billion. Again, the dynamics are there. The Indian economy type is there. But relative to the Indian economy size, Pakistan trade should be better than at least $800 million. So we are very struck in terms of the export diversification, in terms of the country diversification, and this is the second point our country needs to highlight in a priority basis. The third point is a shift in our priorities. And unfortunately, economic diplomacy at every end, it seems is not delivering. If we look into the trade attaches, their performance needs to be judged. And I don't see a way of progression performance from the trade attaches in their respective embassies, as well as the association in the Chamber of Commerce. They need to be, develop this progression. So a very kind of, I would say, we need to highlight the economic diplomacy at every end so that we can highlight the importance of the Pakistan economies and we can highlight the shift. Just to give you two examples, because of this low economic diplomacy, we almost lose ourselves in the SAARC, the South Asian Regional Cooperation, and that is now dominated by India and Bangladesh. Our performance are almost zero there. Similarly, if you look into the ECO, it's been established by our country, the people are there, but if you judge in terms of their worth in the contribution to this region is again very limited. So instead, we with this low economic diplomacy kind of performance, we need to highlight the importance of Pakistan economy, and we need to highlight the importance of the Pakistan economies. That is the third important point that is unfortunately we are missing on in order to cope with, in order to integrate ourselves with this golden ring countries. It is very much important for me as well. And the last point, that is the adapting ourselves to the new normal. In this COVID pandemic, all of us are aware the challenges all of us are aware about the economic cost, but how we can now, as a country, adapt ourselves to the new challenges. For example, now the digital divide or the digital connectivity is the must for the country. And unfortunately, we recently, the KREF region conducted in Pakistan in terms of the digital connectivity is still lagging behind. And during this whole pandemic scenario, those economies, those sectors perform or survive those who are well connected with the technologies. So in order to adapt to the new normal, we have to be digitally connected. Secondly, including this point is the infrastructure landscape that is required for the digital connectivity needs to be enhanced. And unfortunately, the over-regulation that does exist in Pakistan, we are not very much still connected, and we can connect unless and until we can enhance the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure landscape. And there's a bunch of reports from the organization. We still, in terms of the compliance, is very limited. So to adapt ourselves to this new normal for the shared prosperity, the future is of e-commerce. And unfortunately, the e-commerce policy is there, but still the compliance and the proper implementation is very limited. And most of our businesses need to adapt ourselves to connect to the global very sound tech, and you can connect yourself to the regional global value chain, and that global value chain will of course deliver. So with these four points, let me give you a way forward that are based on these 4 points. The first one is how we can improve the regional connectivity. And I think one of our participants already mentioned, I personally see CPEC is an opportunity for us to connect ourselves regionally that will help us the regional connection in terms of the regional global value will also connect with us to the global value chain. To give you an example, in a KREF region, CPEC is one of the corridors, but there's a rest of other corridors in the Central Asia that all the way go to Russia and to the Europe, to provide us an opportunity to connect ourselves to this regional connectivity. And once we can do that, then I personally see we will be regionally well connected to the Central Asian economies, to the Europe, and of course to the Russia. So regional connectivity is must, and I see connecting ourselves to the CPEC kind of opportunity is required. Second thing, and this is my last point, that I personally we need a very pragmatic FTAs, like the free trade agreement, but very pragmatic. It should be something like we had a FTA with Sri Lanka, and unfortunately one FTA at the very beginning with China, but we did not deliver on that one. The recent one, the second phase FTA with China is progressing, and we are delivering on that. So we need a very pragmatic kind of approach, bilateral relation, bilateral business relation with the Russia. These FTAs will be based on the new normal, where we can emphasize the role in services. Most, unfortunately, the businesses that goes in goods, but the services, which in Pakistan contribution is more than 50% in the GDP, is limited. So along with the goods trade, the services trade is must. Secondly, the inclusion investment measures, and finally, to connect ourselves to the digital connectivity in order to survive in the new normal. So I stop here. Okay, cool. Nensa?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Now I think we can open our house for questions. We already had few questions, and Dr. Saab, I've given you the names. If you kindly ask those people.
Right, just give me a minute, sir. Right, sir. So our first is for did ask a question in General Summary. Saleh Saab, sir, please, the floor is yours.
I think he's not there. So let's ask Ambassador Masood Khaled.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to commend the organizers for this event. And also, I personally benefited greatly from the interventions and the presentations of our Russian friends. And in fact, it's a good opportunity because we don't hear the Russian point of view that often. So I think it's a good platform, and I really commend this effort. Now, my question is to Madam Irene, and the question is that there is a perception. My background, I was ambassador till recently, till last year in China, and I had a good relationship, good working relationship with my counterpart there, Ambassador Denisov, whom I knew for earlier time in New York. But my question is coming to question is a very short question. There is a perception that despite this growing relationship between China and Russia, there have been some reservations by the Russian Federation, by Russian government, on collaboration between the two projects, between Belt and Road Initiative and the Eurasian Economic Union, EU. So association, I think, EU, EEA, I think. Secondly, I would also like to seek her views on this American initiative, which has been introduced, which is C5+1. How do our Russian friends view this initiative? One of the Russian participants said that we should focus on the economic linkages rather than going into the political arena. But my point is that if you don't have the political will to forge cooperation and collaboration, I think economic linkages and economic interaction does not, move. So these two specific questions, how does our Russian friend see BRI and its complementarity with Eurasian Union, and the views on this American initiative of C5+1? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions. I will start from your last question about political will. Without political will, there will be no, economic results. I fully agree with you, and I should say that your new Pakistani ambassador to Russia, who came in March this year, he proved the fact that the main investment in Pakistan policy nowadays is investment in one of our best friends, strong relations with Russia. And this at this moment, Russia and Pakistan, by his opinion, is at the historically strongest point. So we may say that as for political intentions on both sides, Russian and on Pakistani, have close relations, and we want to have long-standing relations between Pakistan and Russia. And as for bilateral relations, I think they have a very promising, future. And concerning, China-Russia projects, we may say that they are not in contradictions. We support China you see, project because it is in conjunction with the Russian project of Eurasia Economic Union and through and building, you see great Eurasia. And we at Pakistan, for example, in Central Asia, in Central Eurasia, we can suggest that these four states, I mean China, Russia, then Pakistan and Iran, they may be viewed as if four polars, Russia, it is the northern polar, Pakistan, south polar, and Iran and China, western and eastern one. And you see, this project, Pakistani project, GREF, also it is as a continuation of this Russia and China project. So we can move forward in implementing our, you see, projects because it is not just a today project, it is the future projects, but which can be realized through our bilateral relations, first of all. And I think that even if we take, for example, NATO, yeah, NATO just nowadays has a lot of problems. I mean, while President Trump came to power. So even such structures now have some problems, so we may say, in with Turkey, for example. Yes, that's what. That's why I mean that nowadays perhaps multilateral relations are not so important as bilateral relations. How can we imagine to develop multilateral relations or GREF, for example, you see initiative, when we see some difficulties in development bilateral relations? So this is my idea that nowadays we should concentrate on bilateral relations. Why, for example, if we take this pipeline project, I mean Karachi-Lahore main pipeline, it took us 5 years just to understand that this project is very, very fruitful and with a strong economy, we will have a stability also. It seems to me that, first of all, necessary to expedite our bilateral relations. For example, when our Intergovernment Commission met in Islamabad in December, which Sergei Vasilyev mentioned, and he participated in it, there were a lot of proposals, and you see intentions were expressed on developing our economic relations, but then there was a standstill and perhaps not as much progress as we expected because of the situation in the world, also because of the sanctions. I mean, we were looking for the main firm which will conduct this pipeline project, but still there was a political will, and there will be the economic result. I mean that there is information that perhaps at the end of September there will be delegation in Pakistan from our energy ministry to conclude a commercial agreement between government to government agreement. And then this will be the first step to our shared economic recovery. First of all, let us think about our bilateral relations. And this is what is important and on what we should concentrate on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
My second question was about C5+1.
So I don't think it is the main thing for our discussion today. As for shared economic recovery is much more important and bilateral relations is much more important nowadays. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much, Mr. Saab. So the next question is Shabir Saab from NDU. Sir, the floor is yours for the next question.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask the questions. My gratitude and congratulations to the organizers for organizing this wonderful discussion. Was need for that India relations in economic terms should be discussed in a trans-regional setting. With the premise that political will is very important for moving forward the economic relations. My first question is addressed to Dr. Reyna Sirenko. She has very rightly pointed out that during Cold War era were going on between Pakistan and Russia, and she already pointed out about economic relations. I do remember that there were a daily flight from Karachi to Moscow until 1992, if I remember it correctly. But in today's time, there is less people-to-people contact to the extent that there are no direct flights from Pakistan to Russia and vice versa. And this is one aspect of the lack in the people-to-people contact. So my question is that how do you see that this relationship or this lack of people-to-people contact in the population of two countries is contributing towards the slowness in the economic relationship between the two. My second question is addressed to our friends from Russian embassy. As we see that in a trans-regional setting, peace and stability is very necessary. And if we don't have stability in our region, economic regeneration or economic connections would be difficult to build upon. So my question would be that how far Russia would be ready to address the hotbeds of conflicts in the region to improve or to build upon economic engagement in the region. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And you see, it is not a new question. Practically, it is a question of 70 years of our diplomatic relations, because every time we speak about the necessity of people-to-people contacts. And I should say that still, even in not good times in our relations, we still had people-to-people contacts. I mean, at think tanks level. I remember after visiting of President Musharraf to Russia, there was a delegation to Pakistan from Russia consisting of diplomats, scholars, and our parliamentarians. journalists, and there was a TV program on your TV program with there were questions also how we should improve people-to-people contacts. I say that this you see even today's webinar is a kind of people-to-people contacts, although on a high level of think tanks and so on. But we should say that our Institute of Oriental Studies publishes a lot of you see books on Pakistan, and this is for our audience, for our Russian people to know, to understand the culture of Pakistan, not only you see political life, but the main you see poets, for example, Muhammad Iqbal. We have also published a book on Jina, and so on and so on. And we even have a program, TV program on our cultural, you see, TV channel Kultura, which was devoted to Pakistan. And there were a lot of questions about the formation of Pakistan. And you see, nowadays Pakistan is not as a stranger for the Russian audience. They know difference between Pakistan and India, that now these are two countries, neighboring countries, with their problems and differences. But and you see this question, I think of with the economic, you see, enhancement will be less. And I should say that when I worked at Karachi steel mill, for example, all the shopkeepers started to speak the Russian language, so there were a lot of communication. And we understood each other perfectly well. We started to learn Urdu, for example. So it was a practical, you see, communication between different people. And the hospitality of the Pakistani people was so near to us because we are close in our culture. I mean, Russian people and the problem lies in the language here. For the Russian people, it is difficult to learn Urdu, and for Pakistani people, I think it is not difficult to learn the Russian language, as the president shows us today. His perfectly well pronunciation of Russian words. So perhaps it is necessary to begin, and then in the process it will be much more easier to communicate. And by the way, I should say that students from Pakistan come to Russia, and Russian students, for example, go to study at the Modern Institute of Languages in Islamabad, and some there is also exchange between military, you see, officers who also started to study at our institutes, military institutes. So on this level, I think there will be a chance for us to know each other more close. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there any question from you, sir, or should we ask Munawar or Sensab for the next question?
I think Munawar or Sensab, I think. That's right.
Okay, sir. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
I'm audible?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Thank you for a very good opportunity to listen from the Russian counterparts. My question is basically from Dr. Reyna, and any other member of the panel can respond to it. The question is, when we talk about post-COVID emerging region as a powerful natural region known as Golden Ring, Iranian potential is also untapped due to harsh economic sanctions there. So, but the Putin-led Russia and Douglas-inspired Russia who consider Iran as a strategic ally, can do to resolve the issue, to untap a big opportunity economically for whole region. One, and second, an obstacle. This was an opportunity, and second is the obstacle. In fact, vulnerable Afghanistan is an obstacle to region, and not only for political but also for economy. So what at strategic level should be done to resolve Afghanistan crisis and destability exists there, keeping in mind the context of ongoing peace process and peace talk there. So what is your take on both the issues, the opportunity and the obstacle, please?
Reyna
Anyone in the panelist?
Dr. Reyna Nikolai, one question was to you, if you may like to answer.
This is question. This is a question for me. Yes, you know, as for Afghanistan, Afghanistan is the heart of Asia, as we all know, as Iqbal said, and you see, peace process and stability in Afghanistan, of course, is very important for all regional countries, for Central Asia, for Pakistan, Iran, you see, and all other regional countries. I think that the situation, of course, is very, you see, tough there, and all this peace process, it should go to an end. But sorry, but you see, Pakistan played a great role in making this process possible, and not only Russia but the whole world community appreciate the role of Pakistan in this peacekeeping process. Perhaps, sorry, I did not hear because of some sound problems here, not the whole question. So perhaps will you repeat your question to me? I mean that I did not quite hear you correctly. But yeah,
it was on Russia-Iran relationship for this group, Russia and Iran relationship. Okay.
And as for Russia-Iran relationship, you know, Iran is a very friendly country to Russia. We have very good relations between Russia and Pakistan. And you see, of course, due to some sanctions, Iran started to learn how to live under the sanctions. And we have the same experience as Iran. So for us, it's much easier to communicate on economic level, even under the sanctions. And I should say that this pipeline, underwater pipeline, Iran-Pakistan, we, even when our Interstate Government Commission came for this session in December in Pakistan, we also proposed to continue this project Iran, Pakistan, and even India, when the situation, we hope, still will be somehow settled in this South Asia region due to Kashmir issue, of course. Well, and India also have very good relations with Iran. Pakistan is somehow between India and you see Iran. And I think that for Pakistan, it is necessary also to have good relations. And this GREF initiative, of course, shows that these countries, which comprise a kind of a ring around Afghanistan, they should come together and for economic development. So I think that the prospects of this initiative, together with Iran, Pakistan, Russia, then China, of course, and Turkey, yes, it has a chance for existing and for developing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to have one comment to Dr. Reyna and try to do it in Russian. Reyna Nikolaevna, we очень хороший дипломат, молодец.
Thank you very much. The same with you. Yeah.
No, thank you.
The
So
same
please,
with you.
Dr. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asnen, and we trust you. It will be something good.
Yes, it was good.
Okay, great. So, is there any question from audience before we hand over the floor to Mr. Abid Shirwani, who is the Director General, University of Management and Technology, Lahore? Is there any question from audience?
I think let's proceed to Dr. Shirwani.
Thank you very much, my dear audience and my very valuable participants and panelists, particularly from Russia. It is the first time. It is a great opportunity for both countries. We have discussing on many current issues and even the opportunity of the future coordination as well. So I'm really thankful to Mirza Asnan Saab and General Skandar Saab and their team and my team as well, ORIC, UMT, and particular of the Economics Department of UMT as well. So they are organizing these a series of webinars, and we are including China, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, and Russia. It would be, I think, in future it would be develop a great new block for the mutual coordination in terms of strategic, not only strategic alliances, in terms of economic alliances as well, and it would be our topmost priority as well. So I'm discussing that we have some good opportunities in between people-to-people relationship and business-to-business relationship, first of all. And in education as well. We should develop a very good relationship with the Russian institutions of higher education and in the field of science and technology as well, and other fields of agriculture, information technology, and social sciences as well. So we have very good relationship between the Central Asian countries as well, and these countries can make a good bridge between Russia and Pakistan as well. So it is good proposal led by Mirza Saab. We should include some Russian states, independent states as well in this forum in the future as well. And I'm just concluding that it is very good initiative, and I do hope that in future will enhance our ties in a practical way, in a pragmatic way as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's quite a long time, and everybody was sitting there, and I appreciate our all speakers, from especially from Russia, from the embassy, Mr. Vyacheslav Centurion, and Mr. Anton, Mr. Sergei Vasilyev, and Mr. Ruslan. So everybody, thank you very much, Dr. Reyna, especially because everybody was asking questions to you. You know, we're all, so I think you were the main target. So you answered well. You handled it very well. So, and we hope to see each other soon again. Maybe webinar or maybe personally. If you invite us, we may come to. Yeah.
Personally better. Yeah.
Personally better, yes.
Yes.
And yes, when this corona thing is over and the flights are open, then we will try to plan something, have a joint meeting with the Delaware Rus and with the Russian chamber, so that we can have the things to put them in a concrete forum. And most probably, our Dr. Shahid may be visiting before that, maybe visiting if the flights are there. So I will assign him certain things. So he will come to you guys and talk to you and try to formulate something. So till then, we will wait to see each other, and we'd love to see everybody again. So thank you very much from our side. Once again, goodbye to all of them. Okay.